Welcome to Intuitive Transformations with your host, Sylvia Henderson, and discover tools, wisdom, and inspiration that will empower you to transform your life. Sylvia is an intuitive life coach and energy healer with a growing practice that is focused on empowering others to be more of who they want to be. For the next hour, join Sylvia and explore and unravel anything in the way of you creating the life that you would love to live on the OMTimes Radio Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Intuitive Transformations radio show, where you will find tools you can use to transform your life. I'm Sylvia Henderson, your host, and you can find me here every Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Pacific Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Time, connecting, sharing, and inspiring you to expand into more of who you are so that you can step boldly into more of what you love in your life. If you would like to know more about what I do, please feel free to visit my website at intuitivetransformations.net for more information. I'd really love to be of service to you. So happy Sunday, happy Easter, and happy blood moon eclipse, everyone. I want to apologize. We got off to a little bit of a late start, but you're here and I'm here, and I have a very special guest here with me to share just some amazing information that's going to just blow you away. I don't know about you all, but I am really thrilled to be on the other side of this recent blood moon or astrological changes that have been going on. I've had a lot of emotional upheaval, kind of like being on an emotional spin cycle, so to speak. So if you've been on that same rapid spin dry cycle, then you know that all of this is about making peace with the past, forgiving yourself, forgiving others, letting go of our judgments and that are no longer serving us. So if you've been emotionally triggered quite a bit lately, or if you've been revisiting old emotional wounds, here's the good news, folks. The worst is over. All of that emotional sludge that came up to the surface only came up to be forgiven, healed, and to be released. So as long as you are open to doing your forgiveness work and letting go of your judgments, things on an individual basis should be a lot less stressful for you and even begin to be a lot easier and a lot more effortless as we move forward in time from here. So, to prepare us as we move forward into the future to really tap into all of the yummy goodness that life in the universe has in store for us, I have the perfect guest joining me this evening to talk about the invisible field of infinite potentiality. Her name is Pam Grout, and Pam is the author of 17 books, including E Squared, 9 do-it-yourself energy experiments that prove your thoughts create your reality, which was a #1 New York Times best-selling book for 20 weeks. And this book has been translated into 30 different languages. She is the author also of the recently released book, E Cubed, 9 more experiments that prove manifesting magic and miracles is your full-time gig. Pam has also written articles for People Magazine, Men's Journal, CNN Travel, and the Huffington Post. And she is the author of the luxury travel blog, GeorgeClooneySleptHere.com, which you got to check that one out. There are some amazing photos on there and great commentary from Pam. She is a world traveler, and I literally mean she has traveled the whole world. She's literally been to every continent in the world. And there are 2 things that I personally love the most about Pam. #1, did you know that she knows 59 different ways to make a fortress out of sofa cushions? Right there. That's awesome. And I'm sure that her daughter can verify this as fact. And also #2, Pam is a student of A Course in Miracles. And I actually found out about Pam while at A Course in Miracles Miracles meetup group in Seattle right after E Squared was released in early 2013. And someone in the group was talking about Pam being a Course in Miracles student in this book of her experiments that prove your thoughts create your reality. And I can honestly tell you that Pam's book came into my life at the perfect time. I won't get into the deepness of it, but it was a very stressful time in my life. I had literally been bedridden for 6 weeks and had just begun to walk again when I thought, maybe this incident has something to do with my spiritual growth. And I started diving into the Course in Miracles for the first time. And when I heard of her book, I got home and downloaded it on my Kindle, and I began doing the experiments right away. And I have to admit, I'm a bit of a skeptic. I'm an energy healer, so I'm really leery of what people promise. And I've read a ton of self-help, self-empowerment, self-improvement books. And there's a lot of promises that are contained in a lot of these books that never really get delivered. And I have to tell you, I was blown away because the experiments in Pam's book, they really worked. They really, really work. These experiments provide tangible proof that we are, in fact, connected with a field of infinite potentiality. So, without further delay, I would like to welcome Pam Grout to the show.
Thank you, Sylvia. It's an honor to be here, and it's even Easter. What a great day for us to connect.
Thank you so
much for having me on.
It's awesome. It's Resurrection Day. We can resurrect our connection to Source and the power within all of us. So I'm excited to have you here. So I really want to talk about this field of infinite potentiality. What exactly is that? For those listeners out there who have not had an opportunity yet to get their hands on either E Squared or E Cubed.
Well, the field of infinite potentiality has been called a lot of different names over the years. In the quantum world, of course, it's called the quantum field or just the field. Some people call it God, the universe, this thing that's actually bigger than us, this thing that we can connect to and that has our back, that's actually wanting to connect with us, that wants to bless us, that wants to, have a relationship with us. And there's this force out there, and most of us are not paying attention. We're like, hey, talk to the hand. We don't want to interact with this force because there's a lot of reasons. Some of us have some baggage around it, but this is the most exciting thing, this most exciting possibility that anybody can have in their life. And it's just this, and because it's invisible, it makes it harder for some people to trust, but it really is just this amazing force that wants to connect with each and every one of us. And it's a big field that we're all a part of.
So, you threw a lot of different definitions out there. You even threw out a word that's highly charged, and that is the God word, because that does carry quite a bit of baggage. And I want to step into that a little further, but just kind of cursory, because I know that pretty soon we're going to be coming up on a break. Why don't we just hold on to that thought and finish that conversation so we can dive a little deeper into why some people might be resistant to really tapping into that field. So stay tuned, everyone. We will be right back in just a few moments.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Know what to do, just can't figure out how to fit it all into your busy life? It doesn't have to be that way. Hi, I'm Alan Baisberg from Seamless Life. Join me every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio and learn the how of conscious living. Let me and my guests help make your life seamless.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millisers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake. Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hello and welcome back. You're listening to Intuitive Transformations with Sylvia Henderson, and I have with me my very special guest, Pam Grout. She is the author of E Squared and E Cubed, and we are having a conversation about this field of infinite potentiality, the quantum field, this God force that we have access to that has our back. So, Pam, before we went into the break, we were talking a little bit about why people might be resistant to being able to access this field. You even threw out kind of the God card out there, which, of course, there is a lot of baggage around that. So you're saying that it's positive, it wants to support us, but then when people look at their life, they might be kind of doubtful about that, a little skeptical, because they don't feel it's showing up that way for them.
Right. Well, the world conforms to our beliefs and expectations. I mean, whatever we focus upon in our life, whatever we pay attention to, we animate that particular reality into our life. So that's this big field that we're connected to. I mean, we are connected to everything, but what shows up in our life, what we see in the material plane is that which we're paying attention to, that which we're focusing upon. So, because a lot of people have a lot of baggage and think like, oh, life is hard. I'm all alone here in the world. You know, I'm not worthy of good things. So if you have all those kind of beliefs and expectations, that is what you will animate into your life. You mentioned the word forgiveness earlier. Once you forgive, and forgive really means just letting go of all those perceptions and beliefs and expectations. If you let that go, then this force can come rushing in. But as far as the baggage, yeah, there is a lot of baggage around the, as you called it, the God word, I think you called it. In my new book, I like to call it the Radiant X or the, I mean, there's just so many names for it, but it is this really amazing force. But because so many of us associated it with God, we tend to run the other direction. It's like, oh no, none of that for me.
So then when did you first tap into this awareness? Because a lot of this does sound like law of attraction. And actually, that's a word that people throw out quite a bit now. But, you know, it's something that people are trying to understand. They kind of get a feeling that, yeah, okay, I do create my own reality. I get that. I have responsibility. Yeah. And so whatever I focus on expands. But, you know, when did this first, you know, become an awareness for you? How did you come across this?
Well, the truth is we use this all the time. So I've never not known about it or not used it, I should say. I think what happens is once you become conscious of it and you actually try to redirect your thinking, your perceptions, and really start looking at some of the beliefs and expectations that you have, and you really, is this really true, this belief that I'm not worthy? Or is this really true that, you know, that I'm not loved, or that I really have to work hard, or that life's not working for me? Once you start really looking at that, in fact, to me, the main work in what I'm trying to do is to let go, again, to use the forgiveness word, let go of everything that blocks this force from coming in, because that's what we've done. We've created this other story that's overriding. I mean, you can't actually override the goodness in the end. I mean, like I always say, there's only 11 words you need to know: that the universe has your back and everything's going to be okay. If those are the only 11 words you need to know. And if it doesn't appear that it is okay at any point in time, then you're obviously holding something apart from yourself. You've got some belief and expectation that is blocking that truth. But eventually, even that's okay, because eventually it will all come around. I mean, the biggest thing is for people just to relax and to realize, wow, everything's going to be fine. And the more you can live in this moment and just look around at all the gifts that we have every day. Like, for example, the sun came up this morning and I didn't have to make that happen. My heart's beating in my chest. I don't have to make that happen. I mean, so many things are going right, but we tend to focus on everything that's not going right. I mean, we spend all our energy into problems and trying to fix things and joining this group to learn this, and let's seek out, see what's wrong here and what's wrong there. And that's our total focus, is on what's wrong. But when you start asking the question, what is going right, then things start changing. And that's, in many ways, what my book's about, is these experiments like, okay, let's just open up that little window of possibility that things could go right, and that there could be a force that wants to help me, that wants to connect with me, that wants to guide me. So it's just basically these little baby steps to say, okay, I've been holding a lot of these beliefs, these expectations for a long time, but I'm going to go ahead and just let it go for, 48 hours. How hard is that? And just see what happens. And that's when, the miracles can start happening.
I couldn't agree with you more. And what I love is how you're posturing this in the form of a question. What is going right? Because what I have found, especially working with clients, is they tend to focus on what is going wrong, just as you said. It's kind of this, why me? Why is this happening to me? And it's almost like then your consciousness begins to give you the answer to the questions that you ask it, so to speak. And it's almost like the questions you were asking, is this really true that life is hard? Asking it from that point of view, I think you're correct. That does shift the point of view to looking at, well, is it really true? Or am I just saying that it's true because it's what I've been taught? In your most recent book, E Cubed, you talk about memes. And when you look up what the definition for memes are, it's kind of this cultural idea or belief system or a pattern of behavior that spreads throughout a culture. And do you think that that's why people tend to be more on the negative end?
That's exactly right. That's the mental construct. I mean, everything in this world is based around problems and what is wrong. I mean, from the time we're born and we're measured and we're weighed. I mean, this is the minute we pop out into this world, and then we're compared to everybody else to see how do we stack up against, the other babies in the nursery. So they're right away, instead of embracing this beautiful, wonderful new thing, perfect as it is, we're being compared. And then we just learn all these rules. And our parents, of course, think that's what their job, to teach us how to do this. I mean, I know I taught my daughter probably a few things that I wish that I hadn't, but we're taught all these rules and these things we have to do. No one tells us follow your bliss, but that is really this force talking, this force that wants us to follow our passion. But instead we're taught to fit into this box, follow this rule, don't do that, go this way. And so from that point on, we're just looking for what's wrong and what needs to be fixed, instead of really stopping and registering, like right now, registering like, wow, the sky, and here it's dark, the stars, the moon, it's just beautiful. Where you are, it may not be dark yet, but
it's sunny outside with a beautiful blue sky.
Just to really focus on, wow, this moment, there's so much richness and potential right in this moment. But instead, we're just kind of operating out of this mental architecture that we pick up and then we're indoctrinated into right away.
So, earlier you were talking about the field and how we're all connected to it. One of the things that I tend to not do anymore is I don't watch the news, only because I don't feel it's irresponsible for me not to watch the news, because I know if there's some information out there, someone will let me know that and that I must know if that's the case. But, it's just so saturated in fear. It seems as if right now we have created a meme consciousness that's very fear-based. And so what I love about the experiments is it opens up a window of looking at life from a different point of view.
Right. As you know from my bio, I write for a lot of different publications. I used to write for a newspaper, and sometimes I jokingly refer to myself as a member of the world's largest terrorist organization. The news media. But the truth is, what we see in the news media for the most part, and I don't really write about that kind of stuff. I tend to write about travel,
right.
Heroes and Angels for People magazine. I mean, I write about stuff that I believe in. That's kind of one of my commitments. However, what does happen is what we see reported on the news really is the anomaly. It's the 1 out of 1,000,000% of something that happened, but then we start focusing on that. It's not the actual reality. I mean, if news is really what's going on in your world, if you look around, I mean, right here in your neighborhood, everything's really pretty fine. I mean, that is more news if you really want an accurate report of the way the world is. But we focus in on the one little crazy thing that happened and think that's news, or we report that as news. Excuse me.
So it really is just more about their reporting more their perception or their...
Exactly. Well, they're reporting one little thing that happened and they're blowing it up into but here's the thing. I mean, both sides of this equation are kind of rising. The negative news is maybe rising, but in our hearts and in our souls, we're also this other energies rising, and this belief, that we can look for the good and that people are good. I mean, if you really look at it, people are really good. People are really loving. In fact, one of the things I say in my book is that the biggest secret in the world is that we all really love each other. That is really the truth. But we kind of pretend like we don't, and we pretend that, that we need to be worrying about what's wrong. And so because of that, because we keep focusing on the same old things over and over and over again, we just keep getting the same old things. But at any time, we can begin to let go and surrender to this bigger thing that has so many more amazing ideas and possibilities for our life. Because in this field, there are infinite possibilities of what can happen. Infinite. I mean, we can't even get our minds around infinite. But as long as we just keep focusing on, like we get up, first thing in the morning, we start looking around. It's like, everything. And, we start, the people that we see, we already think we know how they are.
Right. We've
got all these expectations about the way they are, the way our job is, the way our life is. So then we just keep repeating it over and over again as we let go of some of those beliefs and just be open that, it could be a little different. Maybe I could love my job. Maybe I could, maybe my partner's not as, whatever thing we want to think they are. If we can be open and really see with fresh eyes, it's amazing what can start to happen, because all we're seeing is what we've just programmed in, what we've chosen out of this big infinite field, the tiny little story and picture, the beliefs and expectations that we have animated into our lives.
So it's interesting that you use the word that things that we have programmed in, because it does really feel like they are programs. And that's what I tell my clients is that, you're just running your software, you're running your program. And so, but it's not as, where they get stuck is that it's not as cursory for them, or it's not as on the surface. It's kind of a deep groove within their neurology because they've rehearsed it over and over and over again.
That's very true, because we've repeated it. Like, I've heard that we have 60,000 thoughts a day, and 95% of those thoughts are the exact same thoughts we had yesterday.
Yeah.
So we practice a lot of same old.
So I'm going to have you hold that thought, Pam.
Sure.
We're going to go right into a break real quick. Stay tuned, everyone. We're going to continue this great conversation. Be back in just a moment.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can't transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is Conscious Living for Your Soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Join Elliot Jolish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jolish Hour, as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jolish Hour. What if business could be fun? What if business is the adventure of living? What are you choosing? Where do you do business that makes it easier, more fun, or more joyful for you? We'd love to see where you do business. Connect with us on Instagram @JoyOfBusiness or Twitter @JoyOfBusiness and share your pictures with hashtags BusinessDoneWhere and Joy of Business. Let's change the world with business. The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Intuitive Transformations with Sylvia Henderson, and I have here as my special guest Pam Grout, and she is the author of E Squared and E Cubed, and we have been having a conversation about this quantum field, this field of infinite potentiality, really infinite love, that's here to support us and to help us to live a life that's the life that we would really love to live if we would just change our focus. And so before we went into the break, we were talking a little bit about people being programmed and just kind of running these patterns over and over again. So I know that you said, this is, really honestly, we're all connected to this field. It's something that we never disconnect from. We're always accessing it. It's just a matter of how we're accessing that creates the results that we receive, correct?
Right, exactly. We pick up these messages and these thoughts and we believe, and that's exactly what we're going to see over and over again.
So at one point in your life, were you ever stuck in the loop of over and over again?
Oh, sure. I mean, I'm just like everybody else, I'm working on these things. But what I've discovered is I start looking for more and more, focusing on what's going right and looking for blessings and miracles and making that my focus as opposed to what's wrong and what my problem is. My life really has changed dramatically. So I think living in gratitude and seeking out those things. But certainly I've had times in the past where I was living anything but, what I believe in living. But, we all have the cultural programming. It starts, like I said, from the time we're born. So, we all have that. And it's not like you ever someday, I've got it. Now I'm perfect. It's not like that. It's just like every day getting up and making that decision that I'm going to look for things to be grateful for. And I'm going to focus on what's right. And I'm going to trust. I'm going to surrender and lay back on this nice, comfortable raft of life and just let it take me where it will.
So some of the things that I picked up out of your most recent book have helped me. One of the things that I have on a sticky note, kind of pretty much plastered everywhere, is from your book, something amazingly awesome is going to happen to me today. I love that. And that is like my mantra in the morning. When I wake up and open my eyes, that's what I say. I say it when I'm in my mind, when I'm brushing my teeth, and on my way out the door. And the other thing I love in your book is that no matter what, if I say this is the best thing to ever happen to me, instead of allowing an external experience to pull me into fear, it really keeps me buoyant and keeps me stable.
Right, because how do we know? See, that's the problem. We are judging things. If we're judging it, oh my gosh, this is horrible, this shouldn't have happened. Well, then the blessings that are possible from whatever happens are just lopped off. They're just cut off at the knees. Because the truth of it is we don't know what's possible out of every activity. And once we judge it as negative or as wrong or as bad or this shouldn't have happened. We literally have cut out 50% of what could be possible. So it is so important not to judge and to really believe that something amazingly awesome is going to happen. I talked a lot about my AA 2.0 program. A lot of people know about the 12-step program, the first AA, but I'm all about smooth and easy. So it starts with that very affirmation. Something amazingly awesome is going to happen to me today. And amazingly awesome may not be grammatically correct, but that's where I got the AA. And then the second step of that is I send blessings, 3 blessings to what I call my power posse. And it's 5 friends. And the rule for these blessings is every day it has to be something different. Because I've always been big on gratitude, like, oh, I love my daughter, I love my career, that kind of thing. But this commitment, and I've been doing it now for more than 2 years, every day I am responsible for reporting to them a new blessing. And when you're looking for new blessings and you've got this power posse that's counting on you to recount your blessings of the day, you're looking for them. I've often said that I felt like Lewis and Clark out there, scouting for blessings and miracles. And we do always find what we expect to see. And so because that's what I'm looking for, because that's where my focus is, my life has just really, taken off in so many ways.
I love that, because then it's a scavenger hunt for the good things in life.
Right.
And really, I feel like these experiments that you came up with were pretty much along that same line. It's like a scavenger hunt. It's like, okay, I'm putting this out there in the universe. Let me see if I can find this. I have to tell you, one of the experiments I had that blew me away was something I did in early March, late February, I think it was. And here in the Northwest, it's pretty chilly and cold about that time. And it had something to do with sunset beige cars and butterflies. And so I was helping out a dentist at that time and working part-time in her office, and got off late at night. And it was the last day of the experiment. And I had not seen any sunset beige cars. I don't know if they don't have them in Washington State, or and definitely not butterflies, just not warm enough for that. So I had to make a stop at one of the grocery stores on the way home. I pull into the parking lot, and I kid you not, there were six sunset beige cars in the parking lot. I was like, are you kidding me? And then I had to go to another store because I had, there was a birthday party for a little girl, and I had the gift and I had the bag, but I didn't have tissue paper to go in the bag. And so I went into a store to get tissue paper. And in my mind, I'm going, no butterflies here, and I go down the aisle to where the tissue paper is, the wrapping tissue paper, and I'm seeing the pink and the yellow, and I look one more over, and there's castles and butterflies. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, it's great. I have heard so many stories just like that. In fact, I feel so lucky because after writing this book, I blog, and I've got people that, follow my blog. And so every day I open my email and I get these new stories about people of something amazingly awesome that happened to them that day. And it really does reaffirm your belief in this. It's one thing to believe it, but to every day hear these stories. And that's why one of the things I recommend too is, starting the power posses, or, the groups that get together and discuss these principles, because to me, this needs to be a 24/7 conversation. We need to be talking about possibilities and what we can create every single day. I mean, for me, I want to talk about it all the time, but when you get together with other people and talk about this stuff, like your show, and feeding yourself with this positive message, and other people that are willing to be, open to possibilities and new ideas, it just really does change your life. So I think that's really, really important. Thank you for doing this show and for, keeping this conversation on people's minds.
Well, I love this because that's what I really believe we're here for. We're here to inspire and enjoy life. Life is supposed to be good. And I just don't think that we were sent here on planet Earth just to have to get by. I think that, like you said, there's so much abundance, there's so much richness here, there's so much goodness here. If we could just focus on that and stay focused on that, release the past baggage and let it go, it makes, that's what life is about. It really is.
Exactly.
So you are going to be at a Hay House event pretty soon called I Can Do It?
I Can Do It. Yeah, they have those conferences around, and I'll be speaking at the one in Denver the end of April, and then also there's one in Orlando that I'm speaking at in, I believe it's September.
And there's going to be some other big names there like Wayne Dwyer and a lot of other luminaries there. So if people wanted to be able to participate with that, is there something on your website or?
Yeah, there is under events on my website, but certainly you can go to the Hay House or just, Google I Can Do It, Hay House I Can Do It. But yeah, they can go to my website and find it under events. The Denver one is the first one coming up, and I think it's the last weekend in April. That'll be in Denver. But they also have one coming up in New York, Orlando, and then one up in Edmonton, Canada for those Canadians that might be listening. I guess you're in Seattle, so you may have a few Canadians listening in, or I guess you've got people all over the world.
Yeah, this is pretty much a global network. But yeah, I think that is, I would love to go. I think that would be phenomenal. And is it a full week or is it a weekend? Or
it's a full weekend. It starts Friday night with Dr. Dyer speaking, Wayne Dyer. Mm-hmm. And then there's a keynote Saturday morning, which I believe is Christiane Northrup. But Joe Dispenza will be there. Mike Dooley will be there, that does the Notes from the Universe.
Yes.
And all kinds of different Hay House authors will be there giving workshops. It's a full weekend. As I said, I just recently spoke at a Hay House I Can Do It conference in London, and I was joking that when I flew back into the country, I went through customs, and I thought, oh my gosh, the drug dogs are going to sniff me out because I was so high just from being around, all these people.
All that positivity.
Yeah.
I love it. So I do have to ask you this, because when I read the first book, I tell you that the first thing that came to my mind, other than thank God this is going to help me, was how on earth did you come up with the idea of these experiments?
That is a good question. One of the big things that I like to do, I feel like my best writing comes when I'm sort of letting go, because my little pea brain only has so much going for it. So I really do like to surrender to this bigger thing. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I don't remember the exact, way it came to me, but obviously I was meant to write this book, and obviously I don't know, that it's just one of those funny things. I think anybody that's in a creative field, and I actually think all of us are good ideas. Who knows where they come from? The less we hang on to that mental architecture that we were talking about earlier, those memes, those beliefs and expectations that say this is all there is, mm-hmm. the more we can let go of that, the more these other brilliant, amazing ideas can come in. And I believe that the force, or the muses, some people will call it that, are just out there looking for people that are willing to, take up the mantle, that are willing to write it down and to talk about it. And it's looking for mouthpieces, so to speak. So I guess I was just willing to raise my hand at the right time.
Wow. Well, did they all come at one time, or was it one and then another one? And how did this evolve? Was it pretty much like how Harry Potter was written, where it just came all at one time?
Yeah, well, it wasn't a big download all at once. My practice is every day I sit down at the computer when I'm, working on a project, and I really do always, appeal to the muses, to this higher thing, and say, hey, here I am, I'm willing, use me. Basically something to that effect. And I make that declaration every day, and then I start writing, and then, things just happen. Things come out. I also am a big believer. I have a little spiral notebook. I just did a TED talk about this, actually, and I write down 3 ideas every day. And I think this is something, I think you can radically change your life if you make a commitment to write down 3 new ideas every day. And these aren't just business ideas, although that's one of the things. Ideas, how can you make yourself a better person? How can you help your family? How can you help your community? It sounds like the music's
I know. We're gonna go into one more break, Pam. I apologize. We're gonna finish that conversation about the 3 new ideas. I love that. When we return, we're gonna talk with Pam Grout a little bit more. Stay tuned. We'll be back after the break.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Join Elliot Jollish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jollish Hour, as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jollish Hour.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millicers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business. The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Welcome back, and thank you for listening. This is Sylvia Henderson on the Intuitive Transformations radio show, and I'm here with Pam Grout. And before we went into the break, we were talking about Pam's process of looking for or creating 3 new ideas every day. Is that correct, Pam?
Right. I just have a simple spiral notebook, and just, some of them are completely ridiculous. It's not like everyone's a great idea, but it's that practice of hooking in. It's like, you know what, I'm going to come up with some new ideas. And again, new ideas on how to make yourself a better person, new ideas on how to bless the people around you, new ideas on how you can make a difference in your community. So they're just new ideas. So anyway.
I love that, and I think that is something I want to encourage everyone who's listening to start doing in your own life. I love the idea of just asking the universe for 3 new ideas and being willing to document them. This is how great inventions are done. This is how great change happens, especially if you're asking it in the context of how can I make a difference?
Oh, you guys ask that question again?
I said, especially if you're asking these questions of, for the 3 new ideas every day. Do you do it in the morning, or do you do it at night, or is there
I tend to write in my notebook in the morning. I mean, I also write down to-do lists. I write down, sometimes if I'm processing something, any kind of number of things, but always try to write down at least 3 new ideas every day. And that's just like being open to being the secretary for the bigger thing, I don't consider it any great thing. It's just I'm willing to be the secretary. I'm willing to be the one that, receives the idea and passes it on. So that's kind of my little humble job that I've committed to doing.
I love that. And then something else that you and I were talking about before the show was even focusing on more gratitude. I mean, do you have some novel ideas? I mean, of course, everyone knows about a gratitude journal. I like to suggest that people create an evidence journal, of the goodness that they come across throughout their day and document that. Do you have any other suggestions for how people can practice gratitude?
Well, really thinking of, just really stopping and registering all that's going right. Mm-hmm. I mean, anytime you think of it, just stop and just look around and go, wow, look at, okay, like for example, I'm looking around my room and I go, oh, wow, look at this plant. It's getting so tall. It's almost touching the ceiling. I mean, that's a silly little thing, but I can look around, I've got these daffodils in a little vase here on my table. So, just stopping and looking at what is going right, stopping your, the mind chatter, the crazy mental architecture that's going on and on, the little ticker tape of thoughts that's going across your mind, and stopping and registering all the beauty that is around you at every moment. And it's amazing what can happen with that. And again, like I said, I text 3 gratitudes each day to my power posse. So I'm constantly looking for things like that. Whenever the conversation, when I get together with people, it's like, hey, let's talk what's going right in your life. And, because typically, or in the past, I think a lot of people get together, oh, you'll never believe what happened to me. And, everybody wants to go on and tell their dramatic story about this happened. But at the same time that happened, that might have been, 5 minutes of 1 hour, but let's stop and talk about all the things that did work out exactly how we wanted and are working out in our behalf and that are positive. So it's just a matter of where you want to put your focus.
Right. Well, I know that in your most recent book, you also talk about tapping into nature more and just kind of noticing how right that is and how effortless that is and the rhythm of nature.
Right. I think we miss out on a lot of that, particularly now that we're all focused on these little screens, some of them that are no bigger than a pack of cards.
Right.
So I think it's really important. I think nature has a lot of information to tell us. One of my favorite stories, once you start writing about something or thinking about something, talk about, all these things are going to come to you. That's kind of how it works, signs and blessings. So I was doing had just, I think, finished the chapter on nature, and I was flying somewhere, and in the in-flight magazine, I heard this just amazing story about this guy. He'd been in the Vietnam War, and he'd come back to, as he called it, an America that couldn't look him in the eye. He was a Vietnam vet. Everybody was opposed to the war, and he already had, some dysfunction in his family, and he was bereft. He felt terrible. He, went to college, but just was living this unhappy, just totally stressed out life. Ends up going out to California, getting a job as a boat builder, eventually builds his own boat, and he's just going to sail it around the world. And he said, he'd been out for about 8 days. He thought, I wouldn't care if a big storm came along and just tipped this boat over. I'm ready to, end it all. Like nobody loves me. Life sucks. I mean, everything. But he said on that day, this whale came up, surfaced beside his boat and looked him straight in the eye, this whale, and then swam with him for 2 hours with him on his boat. He said, it gives me goosebumps every time I hear about that. This guy now, he obviously came back to the United States. He totally gave up his belief that, life was bad and there was nothing to live for. He built this carousel of happiness in Nederland, Colorado. And because he's a boat builder, a carver, he knows how to do all that. He built this beautiful carousel. Like I said, it's a carousel of happiness. But that whale had a message to give him. That whale came and looked him in the eye. He didn't think anybody else would look him in the eye, but that whale did. And there's just countless stories like that. I've always been fascinated by George Washington Carver, and I tell this story in the book too. He, had all these PhDs, and he was, widely regarded as saving the cotton crop or saving the economy of the South with the cotton crop. He was just this brilliant guy. But he says that all those inventions, he came up with peanut butter and all these inventions. He was known by presidents. He was knighted in England. He was a big deal. He says, though, people took him seriously because he had all the PhDs, but he said he went out every morning and walked. And he said nature told him everything. Nature told him about, to make peanut butter, to make, I don't even know how many 49 whatever inventions that he made. So it wasn't all the scientific learning where he learned this and came up with this. It was nature, or he called it God. This force was actually talking to him and interacting with him.
That is so magical because here living in the Northwest, it's stunningly beautiful here. And we have, it's lots of places that are stunningly beautiful, but we have a lot of nature. And there is just something magical about when you can be quiet within the midst of nature. There's something very nurturing and very healing in that. And it does really ground and center you and give you a different sense of self and awareness. And I know for me, meditating in the midst of the woods is far more rejuvenating and beneficial, and I get deeper insights. My mind gets cleansed and cleared. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I do believe that nature has a lot to teach us. I think for the most part, we're not paying a whole lot of attention to nature anymore. And by nature, I mean the natural world, the world beyond the man-made world, because that's obviously the bigger thing. It was created by the bigger thing.
There is another experiment in your most recent book, experiment number 7. And it's, the meme is, what I say doesn't matter because I'm only responding to what I see. I find that to be a constant argument that people use to defend some of their negative talk. And I love how you offer the option or the awareness that, I'll bring abundance and joy into my life once I stop talking smack about it.
Yeah, no, that's really true. One of the other things I say in the book is that, you can't really open up the yellow pages these days and find a listing for profit like they could back in biblical days. But if you want to know what's going to be happening in your life, just listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth. If you're saying, man, it's going to be a great day, or if you're saying, oh, life sucks, how am I going to get through the day? I mean, you just listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth and you'll have a pretty good profit right there that's going to tell you, how your life is going to pan out. So we can, really change our lives a lot by changing even what we say about ourselves, what we say about other people. If we say, wow, this is all going to work out great. And, I'll come up with a solution for this, and what if this could happen? That makes all the difference than, oh no, not again kind of things, and talking about, again, all the problems and mistakes and woe is me's that are out there.
I totally agree. So here's what I want to really encourage our listeners, because we're coming to the end of our show. I want you to start every day, starting off your day with, something awesomely amazing is going to happen to me today. That's something you can definitely use on a regular basis. And also start filling your mind and thoughts with this as a mantra. The universe has your back and everything is going to turn out okay. No matter what you may be facing, don't let your judgments of it as being good or bad, actually as being bad, deter you from something else possible. And instead, when something happens in your life that you really weren't planning on or weren't expecting, and instead of reacting as, oh, this could be bad, say to yourself, this is the best thing to ever happen to me. That alone is going to turn things around and change it. And also begin to start counting your blessings, as just like Pam is doing, get a power posse. I think that's a brilliant idea. So, Pam, I just want to thank you so much for being a guest on the show. How do people find you? Can you just tell me what your website is so that they can go on? I think you even have a blog and that you...
Yeah, it's real simple. It's pamgrout.com, and on there they can sign up for my blog if they want. And I do a couple blog posts a week. Sometimes, for a while I was doing one every day. It just kind of depends. If I'm traveling, I don't do as many. But it just, little words. It's just short little blog posts that I do. But it also tells about my books and about me and my career as a travel writer, my portfolio, just different information that they can get. I also have, a Facebook page, a fan page, and people can sign up there. And I think the blog comes through there as well. And I've got a Twitter, just Pam Grout. So if you know my name, it's pretty easy to find me.
And that's Grout, everyone, right, for Grout. Yeah. So, this has been an awesome show. Pam, thank you so very much for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for listening, especially since this is a special holiday. Thank you so much. And I hope that this next week is absolutely phenomenal for you. Please stay tuned. Please listen in again next week. I'm going to have Gary Craig on, who is the founder of the Emotional Freedom Technique called EFT. So I'll be here again next Sunday. That's 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on IOM FM. Take care and have a really fantastic week.
Bye.